Hello, this is Hi Bob Warbob, and let's play some Ultimate General Civil War. Hello, and welcome back. We are here today, right before Shiloh, and we are going to go over the army real quick here with Something Compass.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to Shiloh. This is now you have figured out exactly where and when every unit comes in First and Second Corps.
I have, and I can talk over that for a second here as well. So these three units, the first three units of your first division come in as reinforcements on the first section of the map. So if you were to put an infantry here, you can't move it far enough back so that you don't get reinforced with this infantry. I don't want this infantry to be a reinforcement infantry. I want this infantry to be on the battlefield from the very beginning. So that's why I have all of my infantry here, and then these can just come in as reinforcements on that first phase. These are used on the second phase as a main troop, and these two are then reinforcements on that last phase. And the reason for using a third division is, for one, I don't even have enough slots, but for two, if I can, I always try to use every single number of divisions that I can just to get a little bit more experience on a couple more division officers.
So yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. So we got a 20p, couple of just throwaway 6-pounders, a 12 howitzer, and a 10 ordnance. This is where most of my 42s are. I think I have one or two more units besides this. This guy is one of those guys that I ranked up in the last battle so that he would be able to do better on a 2k unit. I mean, it's not quite 100% efficiency, but you can barely even see red there, so I think he'll be fine. Then this is my main corps. Obviously this is much harder hitting group. So we have these four come in, and then I think this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think these 7 come in as on the first phase, and then the Lorenz 3 comes in on the second phase, along with the farmers and the 55 down here. So I've got 2 stars on the Union, what would be the Union left, and I have 3 on the Union right, which is reversed from what you actually see while you're looking, because you have to turn yourself around and look from. So it's the Union, I guess, the west I have 3, and the Union east I have 2. There we go. Maybe it's better if we go with east and west instead of left and right.
I always think in terms of left and right. My Union left flank, yeah, you have to turn around your perspective, but that's the Union left flank and the Union right flank, and you start with the Union right flank around the church.
Right.
And yeah, because I was in the infantry, but I don't have any problem with left and right.
Yeah, it's just that your point of view is fixed in this game, so it makes it a little bit more difficult since you aren't looking at it as though you're behind your troops. Sometimes you're in front of your troops, sometimes you're beside your troops, sometimes you're, so it doesn't always just fit that left and right from your point of view is also the left and right flanks of your army, which you don't usually run into whenever you're a commander of an army. Usually you are behind your forces.
Yeah, and the map is always oriented in the direction that you're looking to the earth. So yeah.
So north, south, east, west is not always true, and that's why left and right is better whenever you're actually in the infantry and actually on the battlefield.
Yeah. Now you spent some money buying Lorenzes. That was your goal here. Like I think that's what you did in your camp phases. You started investing early in Lorenzes because I'm guessing that was a cost-effective weapon, and there were plenty of them to buy. And you seem to have what, 3 of them here?
6,000 Lorenzes. I bought 2,055s and I got a rep buy of 2,000 Harper's Ferries and bought 2,000 Harper's Ferries, I believe.
Okay.
I did not
So
get this rep buy of 55s.
Oh, and you also took a rep buy of men.
I did. I don't know why.
Well, it helps in the early part of the campaign. Very quickly, you will have way too many men, but in the early part of the campaign, the extra men really helps.
Yeah, I don't buy the rep buy, the next rep buy of men.
Yeah. At some point, you can start backing off. And at some point, you're just going to, have way too many soldiers in your army if you don't.
I'm going into 10 politics is going to be my first thing. I'm going to see if I can hit 300k by the end of the campaign.
Oh, you're easily going to be able to hit 300k.
I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it'll still be pushing it.
If you don't do rep buys, you might be pushing it. But if you hit 10 politics, and I mean, I don't know where you're going to put everybody. Is it just going to be an all infantry army?
I mean,
you could.
It's what it's looking like. There's also the possibility that I'll actually like install the rebalance mod so that I can make 6k infantry stacks that I won't use, but that will just take up space, like take up less space, like in my 5th Corps or something, just to like get them out of the way. That's also a possibility, just because I don't really want to do that, but
well, the JMP mod completely changes all the mechanics in the game.
Right, it would just be to make those units, and then I would switch back over and play on the UI mod.
Oh, okay. All right,
so it would just be to get rid of those units, because basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to hit that 300k, but if I hit the 300k too early, it could make the game really difficult to even play. And that's what I'm worried about. So if I start running into big problems with it, I might do that and be like, hey guys, don't go for 10 politics right off the bat.
Yeah, I think you're gonna not the early game. The early game's gonna be fine, but after Antietam, the Union just gets flooded with men and cash, and I think you're gonna have a hard time.
Very true.
In my Brigadier General playthrough, I like to do a Brigadier General test on anything that I'm doing when I'm trying new tactics, and so I did a real short Brigadier General through. I don't know. I did Fredericksburg, and I think I stopped. But I think my army was on its way to 200,000, somewhere around just after Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
There's a lot of campaign left.
There is.
It gets much bigger manpower dumps than the CSA gets.
It's kind of amazing how much more men they get. So yeah, and I might just not have to do very many rep buys. Might be the thing. I'll try, as I get closer and closer to that point, I can start actually calculating out how many men I'm going to get, how many men I have, how many men I think I'm going to lose, and kind of start feeling out exactly how many of the rep buys I need, maybe staying away from a couple of them.
Well, I felt like I needed, like, the more men helped. For the Union campaign, the challenge is through Malvern Hill. After that, it's on easy mode. And that's what you're going to find. You probably haven't played past Malvern yet, but after Malvern, the level of difficulty really drops. So you're kind of building your army and trying to get enough men to match the enemy through Malvern. And then after that, you're just, the extra men, you're kind of wondering what to do with it.
Very true.
Second Bull Run, I think you're going to be amazed how many men you can bring to the army.
Yeah, I was watching some of your videos today from your legendary campaign, looking at some of that, seeing just how easy some of the battles are. Like it's ridiculous. Like you only get to bring like 6 or 8 units to battles, and it's like that never happens on the CSA. Like after early game, like the CSA has a much better like even flow to like how many men you can bring to battles for the most part, because they never drop down much below the previous battles. Like in the CSA, you start out being able to bring very, very few units. On the Union side, you can bring more units to like the second battle than you can to some of the later ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that doesn't make any sense that you would say I can bring... Isn't it like 8 units that you can bring to that first battle?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's battles later on that you can only have 6 units or just matching that at 8, and it's like second battle this many units, that many battles in, and it's the same number of units, and now you don't get any allied units. So before, you actually had like 8 of your own and 1 2 3 4 5 allied units, and then there's later battles that are even smaller than that, and it's like that just doesn't make any sense to me that it would ramp down that far. And I really understood why you didn't even like talk through some of the battles, because they're just, it's not even worth talking through. They're
Yeah.
so easy that it's like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah. Even on Legendary, I mean, Brigadier General is just, why am I playing this campaign? That's the feeling you have at some points. And then at some point you just stop. I mean, at some point, usually if I play on Brigadier General, I'll stop at Antietam, because then it's really easy after Antietam, and it's like, why am I doing this? I'm just steamrolling over the enemy. But even on Legendary, some of the battles are, yeah, it's like there's no reason to talk through this.
Yeah.
Just I'm gonna run up, blast him, he's gonna collapse. I'm gonna like, and even, I mean, you're gonna see. I mean, I know you're obsessed with keeping your losses down, but you're gonna fight a battle and lose 2,000 men and get this huge, massive manpower dump and be able to buy a massive number of men with reputation, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with all this? I have 4 or 5 cores almost full. What am I going to do with all these guys?
And you're not even fighting big battles. It's like,
Yeah.
the battle is
And then
easy and you get a ton of men. It's like,
and
I'm
the
just
next
gonna
battle,
dilute out all my men.
yeah, and the next battle is 6 units come to the fight. So yeah.
Yeah. So one last thing, your supply wagon from your off core comes in as a reinforcement in the second phase of the battle. Your main supply wagon does not come in until the 4th phase, I don't think. Might be the beginning of the 3rd, but I think it's the 4th phase it doesn't come in until. So this supply wagon is almost useless. The reason why it has 9 supply is so I can route it off the battlefield along with this one, so I gain a second supply wagon in both cores.
Yeah.
Going forward from now.
Yeah, and to anyone who's listening to this, this is something that I don't do as much as I should. I focus on doing this at Stones River. Like, I'll get an extra wagon at Stones River for 3 cores, and I'm happy. But really, this is a huge mechanic. It does exist in the game. If you have a multi-phase battle and you exit a supply wagon before the last phase, like in the camp phase, in the middle of the battle, you will get another supply wagon for that core, and that is just huge. And
Yeah.
I need to start doing that, like intentionally do that in every multi-phase battle.
And even if you want to artificially limit yourself to only having 35,000 supply, which is fine. Like, I can understand why you'd want to do that. But for some of the later battles, it's just nice to have 2 or 3 physical supply wagons that then you can split up. It will split the supply evenly between them. So you don't get like free supply. It's not like every single one of them has 70,000. It's just however many supply wagons you have divided by the amount of supply you have, and then you can actually move it to separate points of the battlefield, so you don't have to worry about moving your supply wagon all over the place. Whenever you're talking about some of the really big battles like Washington and things like that, it's just annoying to have to be moving your supply wagon all over the place. The AI gets like 30 supply wagons a lot of the time. Why can't I get 3?
Yeah. And the thing about it is, without this mechanic, and I played without it for, dozens of campaigns, what you have to do is have to hit pause and move your commander and move your supply wagon, or someone's going to run out of ammo. Like, you have to do that frequently. And I would watch many videos of people playing, and they were always running out of ammo because they're not moving the supply wagon. And I was thinking just today, that's actually a silly mechanic. The individual, like, artillery units just pulled ammo from the major supply center. It wasn't like, oh, there's one wagon that's going to go around and supply the artillery in different locations. Each battery just had their ammo and had their stockpile slightly back from their units, and then they would go the individual units manage this. The corps commander didn't manage ammo to the individual units.
Right.
And it's just a
Just a game.
it's just, yeah, it's a squirrely micromanagement mechanic that I don't think serves any purpose.
Okay. Well, we are 15 minutes in, so we got crack troops, and we'll go ahead and slot in our armies here, and then we will jump over to the actual battle right after this. 47,000, 48,000 coming in, and at this battle we are going to face 53,000. So we are outnumbered by a bit, but
I was
not
going
by
to say
much.
I was thinking you were going to face more like 60, but at 47, I don't think that 47 counts the guys on day 2.
No, it doesn't.
So you're really going to be 67
I think it's 56 total is what I have down
of your army.
of Union Army total between day
okay.
1 and day 2, and
I
then
was
53,000 total for the CSA.
So basically, here's the thing. Everybody thinks this is a tough battle. In reality, this is an easy battle. When you count all of your reinforcements that are going to come in, you're going to outnumber the enemy probably, or it's going to be any 1-to-1 battle.
Yeah.
For the Union, it is a win, even on Legendary. It's
on
just
yours, it was 39,000 to 51,000. That's still, I mean, you're only down by 10K. It's not that bad.
Oh, any of these battles I look at and I'm outnumbered only 2-to-1, I look at it and go, easy victory.
Yeah. And that looks like most of the Union campaign is going to be like that.
Yeah, and anything where it's 1-to-1, it's ridiculously easy. And anything over, where I outnumber the enemy is just a joke. And you're going to have those where you just come in with just a mob.
Yeah. Okay, we'll jump forward into the battle now. Okay, and we are jumping into the battle now.
I really like this battle. This is, I don't know. I've always liked the Battle of Shiloh. The only thing that everybody, there are two things I don't like about it. One is the supply wagons. You're always struggling for supply. And the other thing is, this is the battle where everyone learns, do not let enemy cav get behind your lines and steal a victory at the last minute. Like everyone has lost this battle because an enemy cav unit takes the landing at the last moment and you lose. So it's happened to me. It's happened to everyone I know who on Reddit who plays.
Yeah, it happened to me probably 3 or 4 times, 2 of which I actually made a recording of, and at some point I will put out a video with that. I just don't know exactly where I'm going to put the clips, but there's 2 ways they really get you, and one of them is they'll just like go through your line, and the other is if they go through the swamps on that far side or around the swamp here, they can get you. And what can happen is once enemy units get to the top of the map, I think there's like an invisible capture point. So once they take it, then like 20 minutes later, 15-20 minutes later, the phase just ends. And once that phase ends, then they're just running straight to the next invisible capture point you can't see. And then they'll take that one, and then they'll take the landing, and suddenly you're holding the front line at the church, and they've taken the victory location all the way back at the landing.
Yeah.
And you only get 20 minutes to try to run back to the landing, and you can't make it that far. I got my general back there, and it had just started graying out, and I lost. And this battle, you can put 3 hours into it and lose it in a second.
Yep. And we've all, that happened to me. You have 20 minutes to get back and take the flag, and you fought the entire battle. Now it's a sprint back to the flag that you cannot win.
Yeah.
So
this first section I did at regular speed. I didn't want to speed up the first 2 sections too much, just because they're the majority of the fighting that you do. You see how I held back towards where the flag is instead of in the forest? That's to try to get them to come into the water.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Along with the ones up there too.
The image is kind of janky, kind of stuttering. Is it doing that on your side?
It is not.
Then it's just my side for some reason.
Yeah, it's probably just our connection is not the greatest.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see if I can up the... See if I can...
It looks a little better now.
Yeah, I turned it up to 60 frames per second instead of 15 that it is at base. So now you want to make sure and hold your fire and run into the forest once they get close enough. Obviously, hold skirmisher tricks and all that still apply. The farm unit, the reason why I have them there is so that they can take shots for everybody else, because they're just going to sit in that farmhouse and like mess with people. I liked having the Harper's Ferries out there on the edge with the 2-star, just because I like to have that one go around that way. It can get really good shots on the cav as they try to go through there as well, which is really nice. And I've noticed that the fortifications might not do a whole lot of damage, and they might, you know, get flanked really easily. But one thing they do a really good job of is gaining firearms. You gain a ton of firearms while shooting out of those forts. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's something to do with like the reload rate, and the volley time is really short, but it means you don't do as much damage, but you gain a lot of firearms. It can be pretty lucrative, and you don't seem to use as much ammo either.
Huh.
Because there was a couple times where I had a unit sitting in there like firing like the entire time, and by the end they'd only used like maybe a quarter of their ammo, and everybody else is like flashing that they're out of ammo. And it's like, that doesn't really make sense from the standpoint of like, you would think they would have used quite a lot of ammo, because they're firing just as much as everybody else. It's just not very many of them fire per volley or something. I don't really understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think they're doing individual fire and not volley fire in those prepared positions.
Yeah.
So in the UI mod, you don't have fortifications turned on, do you? Or do you?
I think I do, and I also actually turned on the different scaling as well. I just went ahead and just kind of turned it all on this time, just to see what would happen.
What's the different scaling?
It really affects artillery, mostly, especially AI artillery, because they'll make huge units of artillery, and artillery actually goes down in damage at a certain point. So you add more men to it, and you actually do less damage.
Yes. Well, the UI mod adds the option for both a new damage curve, so that you can have larger units that start doing decreasing damage at a higher point. So you could build, I don't know, 20-pound batteries, and they'd still be effective. So like our infantry,
24-man batteries are still fully damaged. Like, the damage never goes down; it only goes up.
Yeah, but so like our infantry units of 2,500 that we both like, is about a 15% hit to efficiency there. So if you have turned on the new damage curve, then there will be no decrease in damage. It'll actually go up in damage at 2,500.
Right, but of course the enemy's using almost all 3Ks, so it affects them as well.
Oh
so
yeah, they're going to do more damage as well. Yeah.
It's not. I don't know exactly why I'm doing it. I just kind of figured I might as well. Like, it doesn't really hurt or help me all that much. It's mostly just a neutral, everybody kind of is affected the same kind of thing. I'm not going to build that big of batteries though, so it probably helps the AI more than it helps me.
Well, I think the reason for it is, which is the reason that I want to do it in my next game, is is so that you can build sniper units and artillery units that are just larger, and rifle cav units of 500 men instead of 375. It would just be nice to do. And yeah, the AI is going to do more damage, but it would just be fun. And it makes sense. I mean, I want the new damage curve.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to do actually less damage
Yeah,
whenever you add
24,
more cannons. Now, I get that like there's a diminishing return, and that's fine, but just
and it has that. It has a diminishing return.
right. So there is a point in which you don't gain as much per man put in, per dollar spent on the unit, but there's never a point where you're just like, this is actually literally just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, my thought is more howitzers are good.
Yeah, more howitzers is good. Now the fact that they target all your artillery is painful.
You're using that mechanic too.
Yeah, in better AI targeting, so that's a little painful.
Yeah, what I found playing around with the Union was you can build a battery of 6-pounders, and put them, as long as they're closer to the line than your 24-pound howitzers, it's all good because his artillery will target your crappy unit of 6-pounders. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because he'll always target the artillery battery that's closest. So, yeah, that all I did was build, and like we observed in a break, the Union gets to bring plenty of units to most of these battles. So bringing an extra battery of 24 6-pounders to be bait for enemy 10-pound parrots is, that's nothing.
Yeah. I'm always a little disappointed about this farm house. It takes so much damage so fast.
Yeah, and you're even playing the improved fortifications, and it's still taking damage like this.
Yeah. And if you're not really careful, like, just somebody standing over like 2 feet from where wood is will flank you there, because the fortification doesn't actually face straight south. It's kind of facing the ford there instead of actually facing south. Like, not the ford that's next to where that line is, where the attack line was, but on the other side where all the dead bodies are stacked up near to the Lorenz one and all that ford. It kind of faces that way.
Yeah, I always thought that all those prepared positions should be 100+ cover, and flanking was impossible, and that is a very unsatisfactory thing that's built into the game. The fortifications always should have been better. That's why every time soldiers could get into them, they got into them.
You can also see just how little ammo that guy's used.
Oh, yeah.
And even the guys that have fired less have used more ammo, probably. Like, that guy, like, you could see that he's used almost no ammo. It's ridiculous just how little ammo you use in fortifications. Like, those guys are almost half done, and I don't think they fired as much as this farmer's has.
Yeah, I've never noticed that before.
It's just really apparent here because you can't resupply, basically, is the whole reason why it is so obvious.
Yeah.
So I got my artillery moving forward. They're gonna come back this up a little bit. It's obviously not real great here that we're having to fall back this far. I was hoping I should have stopped his charge a little bit sooner. But overall, it's not bad. Not that bad.
Well, he's about to get hit in the flank, so this is going to go only one way.
Yeah, I'm gonna barely turn this guy just enough to get his flank, because I'm also worried about getting hit on my flank if I'm not careful as well. Because if I take much of a step forward, like, Siegfried's gonna, like, or Steffens I think is gonna come forward and hit me, and that's never fun, getting hit from multiple directions suddenly. Now I need to pull my guys back, I think, because they're starting to hit me from the forest over there. I don't want to be getting hit from a forest. I want to shoot guys in the river and from the river. Not from the river, from 100% cover into the river. I don't want to ever get shots
Right.
exchanged between forests.
Yeah, that goes badly.
It does. Sorry about that. I don't know who that was, but they can leave a message. Evidently, I should put my phone on silent. Let's do that while we're thinking about it here. So yeah, 20-pound parrot, I mean, it's a good gun. There's just not a whole lot that you can shoot whenever you only have one unit to do it.
Yeah, actually, you'll see more of his artillery in the next phases, so it might not even be worth using right now because it's going to run out of ammo in about 20 shots. Although, mid-range exploding shell is pretty good for this unit against infantry.
Yeah, it's not bad.
People underestimate how good this is as an infantry killer.
It's true.
But it's it's not a 24-pound howitzer, but it's mid-range. It's pretty good.
I mean, even close range, it's pretty good. It just doesn't excel like it does, like a 24-pound howitzer does at close range.
Yeah, 24-pound howitzer at canister, it's just a beast. But if you have enemy artillery turned on in the UI mod, you put the 24-pound howitzer on the front line now in the early part of the battle when the enemy has a lot of artillery and he's going to be vaporized.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So you're probably going to end up using it. This is what I found. Probably going to end up using it mid-range, not canister range. Because like previously, I would just put the 24-pound howitzer right on the front line, like right touching the infantry. But with the UI mod option that the enemy targets your artillery, I couldn't do that. So I had to back him up, which made him a lot less effective. I don't know if you found that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I completely stopped using 24-pound howitzers.
Yeah, that's what you do. You think, well, since I'm going to have them stand back and they use so much more ammo,
and do basically no damage.
Yeah, and they're no more effective than, the 20-pound parrot being used at mid-range, and the 20-pound parrot has a much bigger mid-range. Why don't I just use the 20-pound parrots? The Union gets plenty of them.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I mean, even other guns are better. Like James's are better than they are.
The James is the best mid-range gun.
I mean, it's
a great weapon.
It's good at every range. It just happens to be that it's one of the best at mid-range, just because nobody else holds their damage that well across their entire line. Like it's like 30% at like every distance, and most guns have distances in which they don't do very well.
Yeah. Well, I found the James does less damage at long range than the 20p, but nobody does more damage at mid range than the James over the course of a battle.
Right.
And it's so much better than the Tredegar.
Right. It's a lot like just a really good, like the Ordnance almost does pretty good at mid range too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the problem with it is that it just does nothing at long range and nothing at short range, hardly. It doesn't do that good at short range either. Like it's just okay at mid range, and it's like, well, I'd rather have a gun that does good at like mid range, long range, and short range than one that just does pretty good at medium range. Like, just doesn't make any sense.
And like you said, it's not great at mid range. Yeah. It's just adequate.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a lower tier gun, so you can only expect so much from it.
So, yeah, we end up getting rid of it because it's just, you can put something else in that unit slot that's better.
So, we've been doing it every time. Let's not stop it now. What are my losses in this battle? Allied losses and then medicine.
Allied losses included.
Yeah.
Let's see, what did I lose in this battle?
I can pull that up. On legendary here.
Counting allied units.
Counting allied units, you lost 7,075.
I'm gonna say you lost 4,000 before medicine.
4,707.
That is outstanding, and I bet a lot of that was allied units.
No.
No?
No.
You kept the allies out of it.
The allies didn't spawn in until most of them are dead. So, what do you think my losses are after medicine?
Um,
I'll give you a hint. Your last guess was perfect.
okay. Okay, then my last guess. So
Was
I'll go with that.
3,998.
Wow.
So, right there at 4K.
That's outstanding for this battle. And your army size, like when it showed the start of this battle, it also showed the initial group of allied units. Your army size is actually
33,100.
33,100.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you did take the manpower for reputation, but you say you're not going to do that again. Or
I'm not going to do it
it
in the next one.
the next one.
But I will be trying to research more to see exactly how many men I need. But since I'm taking so many politics so early, I don't think that I will need every single rep buy from men to hit 3K. It might be close, but I don't think I need all of them.
Yeah.
So I think this last one was like 4K that I got. And it was mostly just like between that and getting the 55s. I'm not sure which one I'd actually prefer if I had to do it again. I really like the fact that I have 2 more units, but at the same time, having like 1 more unit of 55s would have been really nice for this battle. I'm not sure if 1 more 2-star was even possible. But I mean, the fact that I would have had 4K less raw recruits diluting my pool, maybe I could have gotten 1 more.
Well, I'm thinking
2-star
of the overall campaign. More men are helpful. I didn't do it in my legendary campaign, but in experiments I've done since, more men are helpful up through Malvern Hill, maybe. But then at a certain point, you just don't need more men. I mean, there's no reason at all to spend reputation for men because you can't use them.
Right. I mean, but I'm going to try to hit 300K. So
right, unless you just have an artificial number you're trying to hit. Doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, like hitting 300,000 is going to be a little weird trying to even like field artillery towards the end of the campaign. So, we'll see.
You can't. And keep in mind that Battle of Richmond, you're going to face half as many men as you did at Washington.
Yeah, I know.
The Battle of Richmond is just very long and boring, and there's just not a lot to do.
I'm also trying to decide if I want to turn up the AI scaling modifier from 1 to something higher at some point, either at Malvern Hill or Gaines Mill, either at Gaines Mill or at Malvern Hill, turn it up to be like a 1.2 or a 1.3, just see if we can get the numbers of the enemy units to be, I mean, even matching mine. I don't even know if they'll even match mine on base numbers or not.
Well, what that'll do for your series though is no one will be able to identify it. Like if you're making a series for other people to watch, then it has to be something that they can, okay, this is what I'll see in my campaign, and if you do that, then it'll be a completely different thing.
But I mean, if I tell them what settings I'm using for each battle, like
that's true.
And one of my thoughts for how to play would be like turn it up to 1.1 at Shiloh, turn it up to 1.2 at Gaines Mill, turn it up to 1.3 at Malvern Hill, turn it up to 1.4 at Second Bull Run, and just so on and so forth all the way through the campaign until you get to the end, and however many majors it would be. I think it's like almost 10 majors. And just basically be facing double the army size by the end, because with the way that we play, we're wiping out the enemy every single time, and it just it gets to be where you're so far ahead But in all reality, if I'm aiming for hitting that 300k, I don't want to take extra losses probably on this run.
Yeah, the advantage of doing that, and I hear people talk about, well, the enemy's bringing so many men to the battle. I always think, good, that's more to kill, that's more XP, that's more captures, that's more weapons. So the plus side of that is, especially once you have your army built, you would be able to just harvest more kills. And really, for the Union, if you double your losses, it's not going to affect that much. Especially if you're doubling your kills. So the XP of your units is just going to keep skyrocketing, even if you're taking more losses, because of, the enemy brings more men, you're just going to kill more of them or capture more.
Very true.
And better weapons means more kills faster. So
here I fall back again to let them walk into the river again, which is just
this
great.
has been very interesting. You let him come into the prepared position where he gets flanked. You let him cross the river where he has zero cover and gets hammered. Like this is just perfect. Your guys are in cover. You have 3 units. Man, you're really good at getting these guys to stand on top of each other and all of them fire. Like if I did this, 2 of them would not be able to fire. They'd get blocked. So I don't know how you do this.
Well, that one I think did get blocked for a second, and I just moved him a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a blast. Hope you guys have had as much fun as I've had. I'll see you again in the next episode. You guys have a good one,